Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Maximizing EdTech's Reach in Rural School Districts. My name is Michelle Davis, and I'm a senior writer for Education Week Digital Directions. Today's webinar has been sponsored by Mastery Connect. Rural school districts often struggle with a lack of resources, challenging infrastructure, and isolation. But technology is a tool that can bring experts, resources, and the wider world right into these classrooms, even though those things might be geographically located far away. Building the technology skills of rural students allows them to compete with their peers from more urban areas and to feel confident when they venture outside of their cities and towns to college and work where technology plays an important role. The challenge is how to bring those digital tools to rural students and to build reliable technology delivery systems that make the process viable and usable for teachers and students. While most schools and districts in the country are connected to the internet, many, particularly those in rural areas, still don't have the capability to use it in a way that personalizes learning and impacts student achievement. The good news is we have two people here with us today who have figured out their path to delivering technology and its benefits to their students. Matt Akin is the superintendent of the Piedmont City School District in Alabama, and he's a 2016 Education Week Leaders to Learn From honoree. That's an award that Education Week gives annually to a group of education leaders who are doing the most innovative and cutting-edge work. We'll also hear from Adam Clemens, who's the principal of Piedmont High School. He's the other half of this dynamic duo in Piedmont. Matt and Adam have found a way to give students in their 1,200 student district MacBook laptops, modern media centers, and access to online classes. And when these students go home at night, they all have internet access. Piedmont City Schools has been committed to making sure students have this access at home, either through a citywide network or MiFi devices. So before we get started, now is a good time to review some of the technical aspects of today's presentation. Please check the audio setting on your computer as well as your speaker volume settings if you're having any audio trouble. And if you're still having issues, please see our detailed audio troubleshooting file, which is available in the handouts folder at the bottom of the console. There are also some other icons there that open additional feature panels in our webinar console. You can read about today's speakers in the bio panel, click the handouts panel to download a copy of today's slides, and follow the conversation about today's webinar on Twitter using the hashtag EWWebinar. Finally, an on-demand archive of today's presentation will be available online in the next 24 hours. Both the archive and a free-to-download version of the PowerPoint slides will be accessible through edweek.org. And I want to encourage everyone to ask questions of our guests, and you can start submitting questions now through the Ask a Question box on your screen. And I'll remind you of that throughout the webinar. I want to kick this event off with a great video that was created for our Leaders to Learn From Awards to give people a glimpse of what Piedmont City Schools is like and what Matt Akin has brought to the district. So we're going to go forward with the video, and then we will get started with the presentations.
Piedmont City Schools in Piedmont, Alabama. I like to say we're nestled at the foothills of the Appalachians. Textile-based community, and those jobs are long gone. So I think the most important thing we've done as a school district is we're changing the outlook for kids.
Have fun.
It's no longer, let's graduate from high school and hope we can get a job in the textile mill. It's maybe I can get a job in coding, or I had a chance to take online foreign language classes that I never would have had an opportunity to, and I'm really good at it. We're giving our community hope, and it may sound corny, but I believe it. You know, over the years, we've looked for technological tools to make sure that we're giving our kids the most opportunities they can have.
Get done with that learning path, because remember, that's part of your grade.
I can remember early on saying, if the worst thing we do is give a kid a laptop and then not just internet access at school, but at home, if that's all we do, we've done a great thing.
All right,
But fortunately, that's not all we do. You know, if that's a level 1, we're at level 4, level 5 now because our teachers and our principals have been able to really take it to a much higher level.
All right, here we go.
They understand how to use technology to really expand the curriculum and personalize the curriculum.
All right, so 14 of you knew it, so why
So I think that's probably what I'm most excited about. You know, to look in a 7th grade classroom and know that students may be working on 30 different objectives at the same time and being able to allow kids to move at their own pace. What we're trying to do is not easy. It's really hard, but we've evolved hopefully beyond just changing education in Piedmont to being a model for changing education, if not in large districts, at least in rural districts across the country.
Okay, questions? That's it. Myself or Ms. Simpson will help you out.
Great. I'm so glad we had that video. It really gives people an idea of some of the innovative things that are going on in the Piedmont City School District. Now we are going to get started with our presentation, and first we are going to hear from Superintendent Matt Akin.
Well, thanks, Michelle. I'm obviously honored to be joining Ed Week and this webinar today from rural Piedmont, Alabama. It's not often you get a glimpse into where we are, so I'm glad everyone was able to see the video. I thought it would be interesting to just start and tell you basically what we're going to follow is I'm going to give you an overview of our school district and how we came to rely on technology to offer opportunities to our students that they didn't have otherwise, and then that'll be the first half, and then we'll turn it over to Adam to really give you an inside the school look and talk about specifics of some of the things we're doing. As you can see from my bio, I have a pretty unique background. There's probably not a lot of superintendents who have been computer science teachers and technology directors before they were superintendents. So I really was able to, early in my career, get some insight as to how technology could specifically be used to provide personalized education for students, and so that's kind of what we've built the foundation of our curriculum program on. And so let me take you back a little bit to maybe 2009. We're obviously located in northeast Alabama. We're a small school district, 1,200 students. Our town of Piedmont has about 5,000 residents. We have 3 schools, and we're relatively low income. We have 68% of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch. And then we have around 100 teachers. The interesting thing about our number of students, since we started our technology initiative 6 years ago, our enrollment was at that point was right at 1,000 students. So we've seen a large increase in enrollment for a district our size. So the question we often get is why did we shift to a traditional teaching model to one where we rely on technology to help enhance the curriculum? And one of the things that's important, I think, to understand is that by traditional methods, we were pretty successful. Our students graduated. We had a pretty high graduation rate. Our test scores were above state average. But what was happening in Piedmont, Alabama, like a lot of rural towns, is our economy was dying. It was textile based. People were leaving the community, and so our Board of Education, our City Council, myself, school administrators were really talking about we have to change the way we teach kids to give kids more opportunities. Even though they were graduating from high school, there really wasn't anything for them to do afterwards. And a lot of rural districts face the same problems, and ours were limited resources around curriculum. We weren't able to offer a lot of electives, not many AP classes, so our honors curriculum was very small. And then also classes that could eventually lead kids in the workforce. the other thing is it's hard to recruit teachers into rural areas. So we were really looking at a way to revitalize what was going on in our school district. So in 2009, we had done a pilot project the year before at our high school where we put some laptops on carts and shared them with teachers, but we really had a collaborative effort to look at how to improve the curriculum and how to enhance opportunities for our kids through technology. And in late 2008, we visited Mooresville, North Carolina, and Dr. Mark Edwards, and saw what they were in their second year of a one-to-one initiative. We saw what they were doing, and really we took the Mooresville model then and made it our own. So we called our model Empower Piedmont, and at 2009 we implemented a one-to-one laptop initiative with all students that were in grades 4 through 12. We gave kids 24/7 access, so kids in fourth grade all the way through high school took their computers home. And that environment consisted of a learning management system along with teacher-created content within that learning management system. And then we also purchased some content. But looking back now, it's easy to say we were a technology-enriched environment. We did a lot of projects, and we gave a lot of opportunities for kids, but it certainly, at that point in 2009, was not a personalized learning environment. One of the things that I think that is, if you ask our stakeholders what's the most important thing we did, and certainly providing access to technology was important, but probably the most important issue that we faced was lack of access at home. And so about 50% of our population had internet access at home. And what we found out, we say it was difficult, but it was really impossible to implement what our goal was, which is anytime, anywhere learning at home without internet access. And we said, like a lot of districts say, oh, we'll allow you to download your material before you go home. But that's really impossible because of the different levels students are on or the different interests. So we initially did like a lot of people do, and we looked to community partners to provide hotspots. We worked with the couple of fast food restaurants we have. We worked with churches. But one of the things I can remember specifically was going home, leaving my office one night, and it was 6 o'clock, and going by one of the schools and seeing kids sitting on the porch of the schools at night just to have access. And it was certainly not equitable when my own kids could go home and have access, but then half of our students didn't. So the game changer for us was we participated in an E-rate pilot project in 2010 that provided internet access at home. So just to give you a little bit about what that meant for us, they picked 20 districts that participated in this project through E-rate. And of the 20, we were the only district that approached it the way we did. And so we hired a internet access provider that built a network around our city. So whenever our kids went home, they were guaranteed to have access. And so we have a lot of kids who may go to a grandmother's house one night, their parents' house the next night. So it truly provided, or truly offered internet access no matter where they were. And then we also had, we used cellular hotspots where we have a lot of kids that come in from out of districts that live in that live in more rural areas. And we sent those devices home with students to provide access at home. Unfortunately, the grant only lasted a year, so typically when you think of it, especially federal grants, that they go on for at least 3 years, and we kind of thought this one would, but there were no guarantees. And so after a year, we had to pick up the cost ourselves, and so we partnered with the city of Piedmont and then also the vendor we were working with to continue that going. And so now we're in year 6 of that internet access at home, and just as technology has changed, we have the way we provide internet access at home has changed. So we've shifted to using all hotspots. We have more students that have access through outside vendors, but we provide hotspots through the school district, and we have had to shift the cost model too. So students who are on free and reduced lunch pay $15 a month for access at home, and then students who are not, who wouldn't have access otherwise, pay $40 a month for family access. So again, I just want to reemphasize that access that's been a game changer for us. And if you ask our teachers what's the most important thing we do, we guarantee that when kids go home, they have access to our curriculum. So looking back over the last 7 years from 2009 to now, the providing access and providing devices has really allowed us to expand the school day and expand the school year. So now we teach a variety of online classes. I think we have every student at our high school takes at least one online class, and Dr. Clemens will get into that more. But by providing online classes, it's also allowed us to free up teacher units to provide classes we didn't have room for otherwise. So kids at our high school can take things from anywhere from film studies to robotics to guitar classes, and then online we've gone from a great example of expanded opportunities is we've gone from teaching one foreign language to now we offer 5 foreign languages that are competency based. The other thing that's important is we have shifted to a true personalized learning model. So we started our middle school last year where it's a mastery-based model, it's self-paced, and it provides for student choice so students can work on what they need to work on at that particular time. With some guidance, we learned some hard lessons through that, and one of which is certainly middle school students, like adults, need get deadlines and guidance as to what areas they're weakest in and strongest in. This cartoon, we like cartoons in Piedmont, and innovation is really a mindset for us, and so over the last several years we've really worked hard to create an environment where our teachers and school leaders seek out-of-the-box solutions for our students. And that really came to mind for me yesterday. We were in a staff meeting, and things were so outside the box. I'm usually the one that's giving those ideas, but it really feels good for me to see how encouraging teacher leaders and encouraging school leaders to think of outside the box solutions, especially that technology can provide, means we're going down the right road. Just a bit, nobody wants to really talk about Common Core and assessments, but some of the things that Common Core, as we've shifted to a personalized model, a more rigorous curriculum helped us see that without personalizing education for all students, it's almost impossible to, without technology, it's impossible to do that. And so we truly, the model that we have that Adam will talk more about allows us to really focus on proficiency by focusing on student growth. And we do that by being able to meet students where they are academically instead of starting every student on the same page in the same textbook. As far as technological tools, we have shifted to where we hope that our model is every student has an individualized education plan. As I mentioned, we're mastery or competency based. So our goal is for students to make 1.5 years of academic growth in a single year. One of the things that we heard very quickly last year was there's not enough time in the school year for students to master all the standards. And that's a little surprising because over the years we've been saying students are, here's the standards we teach in 8th grade math, and all students make it through those standards, even though that wasn't really happening. So by going to that mastery-based model has really helped us. To personalize, we use a blended model within our classrooms. So within a class is a rotational model where there's teacher-led instruction. There's also digital curriculum, and then we have projects in a typical day. We call that class time. But we also do two very important things. One is team time, where we focus on teacher mentors for all students. So we have team time 3 days a week at our middle school, where we're really focused on academic goals and also personal goals, but then we also focus one of those 3 days on soft skills for students. And then my time is a time every student has time during the day to choose what academic skills they need to be working on, and then most of that is delivered through digital content. And I think it's important to realize that as you look at personalizing it, especially as you try to measure student growth, that all students don't learn the same way, and it's not fair to assess kids the same way. So we're continually looking for different ways to assess student learning, and one of our main areas that we focus on is developing rubrics to measure how kids are completing projects. So where are we going in the future? Just like kids need personalized learning to get the most out of the school environment, we believe that teacher PDs should also be personalized. So we have a pilot project that we're implementing this summer where teacher PD is competency-based. We're working with Digital Promise League of Innovative Schools on a micro-credentialing pilot where we allow teachers to choose areas that they want to focus on, and rather than saying this is a 3-day training session you're going to, it's based on competency, so they can go through as quickly or as slowly as they need to master the curriculum. And then also when it comes to digital curriculum and having outstanding digital curriculum is important to us, so we have really changed our mindset, and very rarely do we purchase anything without piloting it first. And so, for example, we have a couple of products now that we have year-long pilots with before we purchase, and I think that's really given our teachers a chance to see how well something works in their classroom to meet the standards. I mentioned earlier about personalized learning for kids and talked about a rotational model. And one of the ways we do that, this is a screen from Mastery Connect, which is a program that we use in grades 4 through 9 right now. And you can see that this is just a sample that would show that you see the standards at the top where kids in an individual class are really all over the page. And so that's one of the things that is really probably the hardest for us or for our teachers is to be able to grasp the data, to know how kids are moving and which kids are moving faster or slower, and make sure we provide the resources that are needed. So I think, Michelle, I'll turn it back over to you, and then in a few minutes we'll hear from Adam.
Great. Thank you so much, and I'm excited to get into the discussion portion of this to talk more about some of those things. And I just want to remind our audience that if you have a question for Matt or for Adam about something you heard or saw, just type it into the Ask a Question box on your screen. Before we go on, we're just going to take a minute to hear a quick message from our sponsor, Mastery Connect.
Great. This is James with Mastery Connect. Really exciting to hear what's going on with Piedmont. Piedmont is one fantastic example of the way that Mastery Connect is helping drive and personalize student learning across the country. Teachers across the country are using Mastery Connect to personalize learning for students by identifying the strengths and the needs of each student and using that information to drive learning. And this all started 7 years ago with a single school principal in Utah who was trying to get his teachers to really hone in on the individual needs of students and use formative data to drive learning. At this point, 7 years later, we have over 2 million teachers that are using our solutions. But despite all that growth, everything in Mastery Connect is personal. It comes back to the students, to the relationship between a teacher and that teacher students in the classroom, identifying, again, the strengths and needs of those students and using that formative data to really drive instruction and create a personalized roadmap for learning. A little bit later on, we're going to get into a little bit more of how Mastery Connect works. I'm excited to do that, but right now I'm really excited to turn the time back over to Michelle and hear what kind of questions are out there and hear the discussion.
Thank you. Now we are going to hear from Adam Clemens. We got sort of the big picture view from Matt Akin, and now Adam is going to tell us how this really works on the ground. He's the guy who's got to make it work for the students. Adam?
Thank you, Michelle. My name is Adam Clemens, and I am the principal of Piedmont High School in Piedmont, Alabama. At Piedmont High School, we have 381 students in grades 9 through 12, and we are known throughout the state as an academic, extracurricular, and athletic powerhouse, which actually is quite important in Alabama. When I was in college at Auburn University 16 years ago, a friend and I started a website development and consulting company, and we developed websites for clients from the lieutenant governor to law firms to political parties. And after college, I started teaching history in Georgia, but continued to operate this business on the side. And due to my interest in pursuing education administration, I sold my portion of the business and in 2007 became an administrator. In 2013, after 12 years in Georgia, I came back to my home state of Alabama and was fortunate to be hired as the principal of Piedmont High School, where I saw an opportunity to combine my interest in technology and education. It's a great honor to work with Dr. Matt Akin, and on behalf of the faculty and staff of our district, we appreciate Education Week and Michelle Davis for recognizing his hard work. Hank Greenberg, the former AIG CEO, said, "We don't wait until the bridge is built and a couple of tanks go across. We want to be the bridge builders." And this quote could easily be attributed to Dr. Akin and his philosophy, which, if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, makes it fun and rewarding to work within the Piedmont City School District. Piedmont High School is considered a mid-sized school in Alabama. Through the hard work of our teachers, staff, and students, we have received numerous recognitions, including we were the first Apple Distinguished School in Alabama, a National Blue Ribbon School, and a U.S. News and World Report Most Connected High School. We're always on the go at PHS, and we offer a plethora of opportunities for our students. One of the mindsets we try to have is encapsulated in a quote from Coach John Calipari when he said, "It's not winning and losing, it's winning and learning." So know that we have a lot of success and we have a lot of learning at the high school. Today I'm going to highlight some of the programs we offer at the high school, and let me just preface by saying this, that if you have a similar program to what we offer, or you have a program which you feel would be beneficial to the high school, please share it at the end or contact us. I'll be posting how to contact us at the end. So let's dive into some of the things that we do offer at Piedmont High School. One of the things that we're right in the thick of is our Summer Virtual Academy, getting it going. It is known as SVA, and so if I refer to it as SVA, that's what I'm speaking of. We offer Summer Virtual Academies to students in grades 6 through 11, and through SVA, we've seen many benefits for our students and the master schedule of our school during the academic year. Students can use SVA to bank credits that allow them more flexibility during the academic year to take more elective classes, leave school early for work or volunteer, or they can pursue dual enrollment possibilities. And SVA contributes to having more flexibility in creating the master schedule to reduce class sizes and offer fun and relevant electives for our students. And so we started out offering our 5 foreign languages, health, and a class called Career Prep B, which is a state-required course for all high school seniors. And over the past 2 years, we've expanded our offerings to include academic and elective courses such as world geography and physical science, world history, government economics, art history, etc. We offer our 5 foreign languages through Middlebury Interactive Languages and our core and elective classes through Compass Learning Odyssey. We have sign-ups that start in April, and we offer a semester course which runs from May 1st through the end of July. And we also do a mini-mester, which runs from June 1st through July 29th. And we average about 120 kids, which is about 20% of our middle and high school students taking advantage of SVA. We charge students $25 for each course, and we hire 2 educators to facilitate the course. And the facilitators meet once a week during the summer with the students to check on progress. And we work with students to have, if they have travel ball or summer vacations, we try to work with folks to make sure that there's some flexibility. Starting in 2015, Piedmont Middle School began a personalized learning model for grades 6 through 8. And this personalized learning journey followed last year's 8th graders up to the 9th grade this year. And over the summer, our 9th grade teachers were given professional development through EdElements. In having an online class option for students in grades 10 through 12, we're able to free up teachers to assist us with our 9th graders who needed an extra period to work on mastering their standards. We created this time during first period using the acronym WIN, which stands for What I Need. So during WIN, students worked individually on their core class standards and our Center of Innovation. Students who are behind on their standards are pulled into small groups. These small groups meet in a classroom or glass-walled conference room in the Center of Innovation with a content area teacher who can give guidance and dive deeper for understanding. We use Mastery Connect to determine if standards have been mastered. And to determine the mastery, students can take quizzes created by Mastery Connect, quizzes created by our teachers but are vetted by Mastery Connect, or projects created by the teacher. Additionally, we are the only system in Alabama that uses NWEA's math assessment 3 times a year to determine progress being made for our 9th graders. This math assessment creates an individualized learning path and Compass Odyssey for each student to help them work on standards that they have not mastered. Next year's plans include this personalized learning journey to continue into the 10th grade. And you can see 2 pictures that we have there. The one in the lower left is actually our former media center, and over the summer we converted it into a Center of Innovation that you can see there on the right. So talking about curriculum, during the transition from a traditional school to one that embraces technology, we made some major shifts in the alignment of which courses would be taught. Additionally, we had to provide professional development many times from our own ideas because we were the first to try something of which we were aware. We centered our professional development around pedagogical shifts from the sage on the stage and the teacher being the only content knowledge source to a truly blended model where the teacher became the coach and advocate going along with our students as they began to take control of their own learning experience. One of the first shifts for our high school was to go from a traditional 7-period day, sit and get instructional model, to allowing our first periods to go online for students in grades 10 through 12. This would allow one teacher, for example, to be a facilitator of all 100 seniors in the government and economics class. The teacher would have a face-to-face meeting with all 100 students in the cafeteria, the media center, or the gym. And this meeting would be used to do checks on where the students were based on their percentage complete and if that percentage was a B or better. If the students were on target and passing at a B or better, they would not have to come until the next Friday. If they did not meet the target, they would have to come every day the next week. So last year we modified and expanded that model. We are on a 7-period day, and so we created a 7th period online option and extended the online option to 2nd period for students who had 2 online classes first thing in the morning. Additionally, we changed the meeting dates to include all 5 days. So if a teacher had 50 students assigned to them for an online course, students would meet with that teacher on Monday, 10 might meet with them on Tuesday, 10 on Wednesday, etc. We kept the requirement that those who failed to keep up with their progress and maintain a B would be required to attend each day. And this challenge allows for teachers to do small group interventions with students and allow those students who are getting it to partner with those who may need some help. During the day, it's not unusual to walk into a classroom where students may be learning a foreign language, psychology, sociology, sports marketing, all through our online curriculum under the direction of one teacher. Our online options and the flexibility have allowed us to expand our curriculum to include classes that are of great interest to the students, and some of which were asked of the administration by the students themselves. And these classes include guitar and drama, debate, hunter safety, archery, robotics, videography, film studies, to name a few. In our 10th and 11th grade U.S. history courses, we won a grant to use Ancestry K-12, and using student genealogy as one's focal point, our history teachers teach history in reverse order. And students have uncovered some amazing facts through this project, including a relative who was killed in the Holocaust, an ancestor who was a personal guard to General George Washington during the American Revolution, variations of spellings of last names over generations, and a few cases of boyfriends finding out they were distantly related to girlfriends, and vice versa. Our flexibility in scheduling has expanded our advanced placement courses from 3 to 8, where 42% of our students are in advanced placement courses. It allows us to have 10 co-taught classrooms, and when necessary, we pair weak technology teachers with those that are strong through our co-teaching classes. It allowed us to bring dual enrollment classes from our off-campus to being housed on campus, with over 30% of our students having earned dual enrollment credit. While many of our classes are taught using Compass Odyssey or Middlebury, all teachers use Blackboard as our learning management system. And we've heard from our graduates that having this knowledge of Blackboard prior to going into college is a confidence booster when they already have that knowledge. And other freshman college students are having to learn to navigate college Blackboard as they are in college. In addition to these curriculum platforms mentioned, we also use ALEX, iExcel, Achieve 3000, and Curriculet. In Piedmont, we're always looking for ways in which to give our graduates an advantage over their peers graduating from other high schools, in combination with the technology-enriched education received by our students. We also have what is called the Piedmont Promise Project, better known as 3P. This is a culminating digital project that our seniors work on throughout the senior year. The highlights of it include all of our students using LinkedIn to connect within and outside of our geographic area of Piedmont for employment connections, And from career interest inventories to professional resumes to learning best practices to get ahead in job interviews, we prepare our students for college, a career, and life. Before a student is allowed to graduate, they must present their digital portfolio of all their 3P work to a panel of business leaders and educators. So evidence of success, Piedmont High School has graduates from that have some of the lowest percentages of needing remediation in college English and math. That is something our state looks at. Our graduation rate rose from 90% prior to technology integration to currently at 99%. Over 20% of our students are actually out of district. We have an open enrollment policy, and our students, we not only live within our district, but almost 20% of them come from out of district. We have been an Apple Distinguished School since 2009. As I mentioned earlier, we're a 2012 Blue Ribbon School and recognized as one of the top tech schools in America by U.S. News and World Report. And 100% of our graduates have been accepted to college and attend colleges from the Air Force Academy to Auburn to University of Alabama. And we've seen a huge drop in discipline issues since this model has been implemented. So what's in store for the future? Through Makerspace, we're creating a Makerspace after winning a grant from New Matter for 3D printers. We also have like a green screen and some other things that we're going to be using in that space. We became the first school in Alabama to require principles of computer science to graduate. That will begin next year for all incoming freshmen. We are expanding 3P to all grade levels starting next year. We are expanding the personalized blending learning to all grade levels. As I mentioned, we're going from 9th grade to 10th grade for next year. And we are in works of collaboration with a national website creation company to help students create personal websites for their personal portfolios and to work with local businesses to give them an online presence. That wraps up my portion of the webinar, and to quote President Harry Truman, if you can't convince them, confuse them. So I probably accomplished one of the two. Just to kind of wrap up, this is our contact information at the high school. We do have visitors who visit throughout the year, and as I said earlier, we would enjoy hearing from you on good practices and programs that are in place in your schools. I'm a firm believer that we learn best when we break free from the silos and share ideas with each other. And one of the common phrases in Alabama is y'all come, and so y'all feel free to come to Piedmont, as well as you can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or visit our website. We are constantly putting things on Twitter and Facebook to keep folks updated on what we are doing in Piedmont. So, Michelle, I'll turn it back over to you.
Adam, thank you so much. That was a great presentation. That 99% graduation rate really sticks in my head, and I'm sure is pretty impressive to a lot of people watching. I want to start by jumping right in for our question and answer portion, and I want to just remind our audience, if you have a question for Matt or Adam, just type it into the Ask a Question box on your screen. But I think one of the things that was really intriguing to a lot of people, I've had several questions on this, is about how you provide internet access at home. And I think a lot of people would say, well, how in the heck, that sounds great, but how can I pay for that? How can I do that? Talk a little bit about what another community might be able to do to approach this or to achieve the same thing. And I have a question here from, let's see, from Cheryl Holmes, who wants to know about the houses outside the city district, how you get internet to them. So Matt, why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, Michelle. So internet access at home, as I said, started as a grant, which was great, but like a lot of other grants, eventually grant funding runs out. And so as we've shifted, and I'll talk about how we do things today because I think it's a model that can be used, is we work with the cellular provider and provide, these hot spots that go home. And typically, it's going home to a family that has more than one kid, but sometimes it's a one-child house. But we encourage the hotspot. It's not just limited to the child's use. But I think I saw part of the question was, one of the things I didn't count on was the administration of that. And so how do you, because the hotspots are owned by the school system, we pay a monthly fee for them. And then as we've had to go and charge a percentage of the cost out to students, we really got in quickly over our heads with all, handling all the billing and making sure everything was kept up with. So we're better organized with that now. It goes through the school level and then to the central office. And when you think of Piedmont, central office is about 5 people, so we do a lot of different things. But it's one of the things where we really just keep up with it with spreadsheets, and we have rules that we follow about, paying your bill on time and those kind of things. But we really try to work with parents that to make sure that we're providing, fair access, and ones that truly can't afford it, we sit down with them and try to figure out how to make it happen even when our price model's not working.
So some people are paying for the hotspots, those that can afford to pay for it, and those that can't, you're sort of sponsoring
correct.
them?
And I think probably like a lot of other rural areas, once you get outside the city limits, which is, again, 5,000 residents, cable, getting your access to cable television is not an option because there's no cable television, and typically even AT&T doesn't provide access. So one of the fortunate things that's happened is the school is such a large customer of the cellular company that the cellular company has put up another antenna just to serve us, which in turn provided more access to the rural areas. We do still have, I think it's 3 households that are so far out they don't have access at all, and we just continue to try to get governmental agencies to help with that, but that's still an issue that we haven't solved.
That's great.
But I say that to say that a Verizon card at home is a lot better than trying to buy access through your satellite provider. And so we have a lot of parents that take advantage of that.
That's great. Adam, let me ask you, one of the things about, you obviously use a lot of ed tech products and a lot of ed tech tools in your district. I'll ask 2 questions of you. Number one, how are you paying for all of those things? You mentioned that I think students pay $25 for their virtual summer classes. That's pretty unheard of. How are you paying for a lot of that stuff?
Well, a lot of it we work with the district on, and as I think Dr. Akin will kind of tell you that it's just prioritizing the budget that the central office puts together. And we obviously we do have a high poverty rate, and so we do try to work with those students. And occasionally we'll have students who can't even afford the $25. And so we work with them on kind of setting up a payment plan. If they fall under McKinney-Vento, obviously that covers their plan for getting the Summer Virtual Academy. But all of the, and just working with Dr. Akin, the central office staff, we sit down and we make sure that we are getting the best deals, as he alluded to earlier. A lot of times we try to pilot things first to make sure it is what we need, because we have so many businesses who want our business, and so we try to make sure that we get the right product to our students. And in addition, we ask our kids what do they think about the products that we actually are delivering to them as far as the curriculum. And as a matter of fact, it was being sent out today through Blackboard, asking them specific questions regarding the different curriculum tools that we use. And so we take that feedback and try to make good business decisions based on the feedback of our customers and try to make sure that we communicate those with the providers that are helping us out.
You got at my second question, which, I mean, I know you and a lot of educators out there are being bombarded with different companies who want your business. And how do you make sure that these companies you're dealing with really understand the needs of a rural district rather than some of the bigger or more urban districts that may come to mind for these companies more easily?
Well, I'll speak to it briefly. I'm sure Dr. Akin probably has a better answer, but we oftentimes have to tell them, you're looking at a 1,200 school district and about 300, 400 kids in our high school, and so they have to understand that up front. But at the same time, when a lot of these companies do deal with smaller schools, they can see real impacts, and they can come in and it's not sparse, and we're a concentrated area. So I think there's that benefit of just selling yourself, and that's the thing. We do a good job of making sure folks know and we communicate well as far as the success. And as I said earlier, it's not about winning and losing. It's about winning and learning. And anytime we have visitors, we try to make sure that they know all sides of anything that we use and the ups and downs we've had with it, because it's and Dr. Akin can allude to that, but it's not been, it's not an easy path to go down. It is definitely a difficult path, but at the same time, if you have that entrepreneurial spirit, then you'll be successful. But Dr. Akin may want to speak to that a little bit more.
And I'll just say real quickly, Michelle, because I see the yellow timer that we're getting closer to the end. But one of the problems with pricing models was this price for 5,000 students or less. Well, that doesn't work for small rural districts, and so we're continually saying, it's not really fair to charge us a school price when I have a middle school that has 275 kids, and we're pretty adamant about develop a pricing model that works for us, and the companies that truly want to be partners make that happen, and others we just have to move on to different solutions.
Great. I want to get in a couple of more questions before we run out of time. Here's a great question from Lori Hauer, who wants to know how your teachers and your staff are trained to support all of this technology and this individualized learning, personalized learning, because not everyone is a former computer science teacher or someone who feels comfortable with technology. How does your PD work there, and how do you support teachers?
One of the things that we've had to do, and I will give a shout out to one of our partners. We use a consulting firm, Ed Elements, that has really worked a lot with rural districts around personalized learning. I mentioned earlier, 5 people in the central office. I don't have the expertise to know how to implement real personalized learning and have that research. So that's part of what we do is we, short term, we rely on some outside folks to really help us. But then we're also involved with League of Innovative Schools, which is a great group that we can talk to districts around the company and around the country and rely on each other to say, okay, well, we did this and it worked, and we did this and it was a disaster. So it's really important to collaborate with other districts as well.
That's great. Do you want to chime in here, Adam? Because I'm sure you have teachers of different technology abilities in your school.
As I mentioned earlier, we try to pair those that are lacking or just is a hard transition for them with those that are really good with embracing technology, and it's always one of those aha moments once they have the comfort of dealing with some of the technology, it's much easier for them to make the transition. And I will mention that we also utilize teachers within each school. It's kind of like the technology guru, and they go along and they assist during the day with our teachers who are struggling to disaggregate data, or even just just going through a program and how to best utilize it. And so those teachers have really done a good job of getting in there, being good tech facilitators. And our media specialists have kind of had to change their role. They too have taken on more of a truly media person, and that they have to deal with our computers and try to make sure that if the computer's broken, to get a replacement, because we just don't take your computer away and say, well, you don't have a computer. We have to have a replacement ready for them. And so it's just it's a changing dynamic for everybody in the building, and asking teachers what are your needs to make sure that we provide the correct professional development to them based on their needs and based on the things that we see through observations.
Great. I want to get in one more quick question. We had a great question from Kimberly Roberts-Morandi, who wants to know about appropriate use by students on these devices. I mean, they take their MacBooks home, I believe. They have school-sponsored internet access, and they have access at school. How do you make sure that students are using their devices appropriately when you have such a heavy emphasis on ed tech?
So we try to focus on being proactive, and we have a focus on digital citizenship. We're a little odd in that we give our kids administrative access to their devices, so we really want it to be a personal learning device. And we also don't separate discipline. We don't have a separate discipline policy for technology and a separate discipline policy for other areas. So we really think that technology is just intertwined with who we are, and most importantly, I think we try to be proactive. And then when kids make mistakes, we do our best to change their behavior.
That's great. Well, I want to end the Q&A there. I'm sure we could talk all afternoon about this, but it's time now for a quick message from our sponsor, Mastery Connect.
Thank you. So again, really inspiring to hear what's going on in Piedmont, and Mastery Connect is certainly privileged and honored to be a partner of Piedmont. And really, the questions that have been coming up about, how these systems are implemented, how teachers can be trained on technology, and personalized learning can actually be put into place, really for us always comes back to that question that teachers are always asking: how do I help my students? We're a company made up of former educators, and all of us at one point or another when we were in the classroom were faced with that challenge. How do I help my students? We know that teachers are oftentimes trying to personalize learning and identify the needs of students on their own, using their own spreadsheets, their own wall charts they've created. Here's an example of something we see when we travel the country, teachers trying to do this on their own. And when teachers are collecting evidence of student learning, they're taking stacks of this evidence home and trying to cull from that and synthesize what exactly their students need. So at Mastery Connect, what we've tried to do is focus on how we can make this better for students, clearer to parents, and easier for teachers. And as Matt and Adam both alluded to, one of the ways we do this clearly in Mastery Connect is helping the teachers specifically identify the needs and the strengths of their students aligned to standards. Whatever your state standards are or whatever national set of standards you're using, we have over 1 million standards in Mastery Connect, so it's very easy for teachers to see a clear identification of what their students know, what their students can do, and what their students still need help on. Really taking that process that teachers have often been doing by hand and putting this into electronic practice so teachers can easily see what their students need. In addition to that, making the learning very personal for students. So the individual student can always log in and see exactly where they are. When I taught middle school, I can't tell you the number of times that students would say to me, Mr. Seaman, why did you give me this grade? Or how am I doing in your class? We want students to own that. We want students to own that information and be able to clearly see the specific standards and skills they're succeeding on, as well as the standards and skills for which they need remediation. Not only so that those students can ask for help, but so those students can feel empowered to make educational choices to help themselves, to access resources, retake assessments, do those kinds of things right online, right through Mastery Connect, providing a tool to really help drive student learning that students can participate in. In addition, giving teachers and administrators the ability to create growth reports. If Mastery Connect is a tool that's being used at the classroom level to drive learning and being used by students to really focus on their individual strengths and needs, the ability for educators to take a step back and create growth reports, to give pre- and post-assessments to demonstrate and prove that this process is working, that day-to-day, individualized, personalized learning in the classroom is having a larger impact. I can see the growth that's happening from point A to point B. The fact that we allow you to document that in Mastery Connect and demonstrate and show that growth is really important. In addition to that, and speaking specifically to the challenges that rural school districts face, but really that teachers all across the country face, is the idea of how they can connect with others and prevent themselves from having to reinvent the wheel. Mastery Connect provides tools to allow teachers to collaborate, to share ideas, to share assessments, both within their own teams, across their districts, and across the country. As I mentioned earlier, with over 2 million teachers utilizing our solutions, Mastery Connect provides familiar social networking tools that allow teachers to follow one another and to collaborate around resources and around assessments. With close to 1 million teacher-created assessments in Mastery Connect, you're able to identify specific standards and standard-aligned assessments so that instead of, again, having to reinvent the wheel, teachers can connect and collaborate with one another. You may be the only teacher in your county that's teaching AP Chemistry, but there are AP Chemistry teachers all around the country who are using Mastery Connect, creating their own assessments, discovering resources, and sharing those resources through Mastery Connect. So this is the way we seek to help teachers ultimately inform parents and, most importantly, help their students with personalized learning and standards-based, mastery-based growth. And if you have any questions about Mastery Connect, you want more information about Mastery Connect, you can go to masteryconnect.com/edweek to get a personalized demo and learn a little bit more about what our solution does to help students.
Thank you. I want to thank Adam and Matt for great presentations, and I want to remind everyone out there that if you want to watch today's presentation again, an on-demand archive will be made available through edweek.org within the next 24 hours. And you can also visit edweek.org to find articles that explore today's topic. So once again, thanks to our guests, and thanks for all of you for watching.